Howdy, Beeflab Bart here, and welcome. This is just an impromptu video that's going to be part one of a series that will be part for, until I can get it done. Creating a tank from scratch that will be absolutely usable, that you can control the turret, shoot the gun, might even add a coaxial gun on top of that, just for, the hell of it. This right here is, right now it's a static mesh. This was made from a single BSP Geometry box. Just a very simple box. All I did was I selected material, grabbed the box, and then stuck it out there. And I did some extruding. I did some just general movements. And you'll see I'm going to go ahead and start creating the turret now. And this was a single box BSP Geometry that was created into a static mesh for the body of the tank. And not bad. I mean, you got some sloped armor on the sides, rear, front, and the bottom isn't sloped on the sides because the tracks are going to go there. But really easy to do. So I'm going to go ahead and get started here, and I'm going to go ahead and make sure I've got my material selected, and I'm going to grab another BSP Geometry box, drop it in here, and I'm going to 0 and 0. Not worried about the actual height just yet because I'm going to end up changing that so that it sits correctly. In fact, actually, I'm going to start with a cylinder, and we'll do the same thing. We'll zero that out and change the dimensions of this. This is going to be the base of the turret that sits underneath the main body of the turret that it pivots on. And I'm going to go ahead and throw that up to 24. Seems good. The Z height, we only wanted about 20 is going to be fine because the turret's going to sit on top of that, and it's also going to stick down into the body a little bit as well. Change the diameter, outer radius here. Let's try it at 100. I don't know. Let's try 120. That should be good. And where do we want our turret to actually sit? I think I'm right there in the center. Yeah, let's leave it at 0. And we'll see if we can make that work. Alright, so I'm going to change my positioning to snap at 5 so I can stick it underneath the level just a hair. Because I want it to kind of stick into the body and look like it's part of the tank. And now we can actually grab our box and throw it in there. And this is where we can get creative. So the overall height of the turret isn't going to be what I'm going to use here, but let's start off with changing the Z height to 50, because we're going to extrude and add multiple sections to it. In fact, actually what I'll do is change this one to, try it at 30. And see, our width isn't matching with what we want for right now. So let's actually change our X. And let's go to 250. $280. Because 300 is the width from here to here, roughly. Let's change our length as well, which now is going to be the Y. Why, I don't know. 300. That'll be good. So we're going to make some changes to it. So to make changes, what I'm going to do is go to... We'll go ahead and get it down a little bit lower. I still want to change that Z height a little bit. Alright, that's going to be good. So we can go to here, and what I want to do is grab here, and I'm going to control left click here so I can select these two vertices. And I'm going to go ahead and bring it in 10. I have no specific design on what I'm going with on this. Then I'm going to go ahead and click here and control left click here, and I'll move it in 10 there as well. Now I'm going to click here and here. Same thing. Like I said, definitely have no specific design on this whatsoever. I am just spitballing it, making up a tank as I go along. Alright, that's good. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this face right here, and I'm going to click extrude. A little message window will usually pop up, just don't show again. And I'm going to extrude it up to about right there-ish. You see it loses the material on the side, and that's not a big deal. And I'm going to click off of it and then click back on it again, and I'm going to extrude to about there. And then kind of like I did before, I'm just going to grab these two. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're going to go back to there, which was 11-ish. They don't have to be perfectly symmetrical, because you want the front to be distinguishable from the back. Come in 8 here. Alright, so that kind of worked out on the lines here. And that's kind of cool. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab, I don't know why, but I want to grab this face right here. And I want to grab this face, thank you. And I'm going to extrude that. Back 5. And you see, whenever I clicked onto a vertex, it took me right off of the extrude line. So let's do to this line here. Nope, I want a vertex, thank you. See, since I've already control clicked over here, if I control click here, it's not going to unselect that corner. So I need to select another one that I haven't already gone to and select that. Let's go down 3, and we'll do the same thing on here. We'll come up. Just add a little bit of something to that. A little more substance. Alright, I'm going to click off of there because that's going to be good enough for the profile of my turret. So I'm going to click on it, and then I'm going to select all adjacent surfaces, display to materials, and click here because I still have my material selected. Now, you can see it looks a little bit awkward, but it's close enough for government work. Probably should have brought the over on. I can still go back in and change it. I can grab like all of these and then push it in so that it's got kind of a trapezoidal shape or whatever, you know. Or extend the tail back more. I'm just going to spitball it and leave it to where it is. But what I want to do now is go back to my geometries, leave my material selected, and I'm going to grab another box collision. And doesn't matter on a 0 because I'm going to change that anyway. Going to stretch this down here. Let's try 50, 50, and 50. And I want to change this to subtractive. And let's see if it'll actually do what I want to do. And we can change it on the X just a little bit. Change it on the Z. Let's make it 80, 80, 80. We'll do it like that. So that's going to be the notch that I'm going to cut out for my gun turret to actually sit in, or my actual gun itself and the mantlet. So pretty well satisfied with the way that's going to be. It's not great, but not as pretty as the bottom half is. But it will be good enough. So I've got all three of these selected, and what I can do is come down to my brush settings and create static mesh. I'll put this into my mesh folder. It's going to be sm underscore test tank underscore turret. And if we go in here, see it's already selected in there, but I'm going to go in here, go to my, now I can create my own custom collisions and everything else. I'm not worried about that right now. Light map resolution, I'm going to bump this up to 128, and light map coordinate index 1, and just because I'm going to do it like that, creating a basic collision for it. So look at it. It's something. So we need to go ahead and finish off with doing the gun itself with the mantlet. The mantlet is just the part that, you know, is the face of the turret that holds the barrel. It's part of the breech mechanism and helps with the control of the elevation and so forth. So we need, and we know that this was 80, 80, 80, so I'm going to make that like just a hair smaller. Go back to our materials, select our basic floor. For right now, I'm doing it that way so that I can just have one generic material. Drag a box in, details, I'm going to zero it out that way, and we'll change it to 78, 78, 78. And I don't want it to be perfectly square. So let's take it down on our Z height to 60. That's good. We're out on this way. That's good. So we can shrink it back, but I'm going to go back into here and give it the dimensions that I want. Grab all 4 of these vertices. And I'm going to move it back to here. Grab the face. Extrude. That's good. And I can grab these 2 here. Yeah, it just went down 10 or 20. Or 2 notches, rather. Instead, if I wanted to make this an actual really cool thing, creating this in an actual modeling program would do a lot better, because then you could assign your collisions and so forth and whatnot, but I don't care. This is going to take care of what I need. In fact, I want to bring this inward more. You know what? That's going to be good enough. Alright, so we need the barrel. Click on this. And let's go ahead and do select all adjacent surfaces, display two materials, and that. So now we got that on there. Go back to our geometries. Let's grab a cylinder. You can't make static meshes with BSP geometries if you're going to combine them together. So it's just a thing. Let's try to add 24 outer radius. 20 is a bit big. And let's actually knock that back down to 18. And I'll probably change the barrel diameter. Now, it doesn't have to be symmetrical up and down, because the way the gun's going to work is it's going to be set up in this mantlet to do whatever. So I'm going to leave it right. Yeah, that's good. I'm going to stick in a little bit, and the barrel's a little bit on the short side. So let's change the Z height to 250. And if we wanted to add a, instead of creating and modifying all this right here, what I'll do is, if I wanted to, I could put a muzzle brake or something like that on there. I'm not going to get carried away. I'm not going to get into a super cool, awesome tank with massive things on it. And no, I didn't set up the mantlet on this one to accept a normal coaxial gun, which will be positioned right next to the barrel of the main gun. So I'm not going to worry about that. But I can grab these two and create static mesh. Characters, meshes, and SM_TT for test tank and gun. Now, the pivot point is not in the correct location. That's going to be something that's going to come back and haunt me because I don't like it that way. So if I select the barrel first and then the box brush, you can see it moves the pivot point back to there. So what I'll do is I'll go in here and I will delete that. And now, if I create static mesh, and I didn't think about that on the turret itself. I may end up having to remake the turret because I wasn't paying attention to that. And there are ways of correcting it and changing that pivot point, but for simplicity, there's ways of getting around that. SM_TT. God. So that should leave the pivot point there. So as we're applying our elevation to the gun, it will look more natural. Whereas with the turret, it looks like we're going to be okay. So undo, let's see what happens when we connect both of these. See, it's not going to work correctly because it's they're not correctly linked together. But if we look at the turret itself, it's pivoting correctly. And once it's in a blueprint, it'll be fine. So, we got that part. The next part would be the tracks. And a couple ways to do that. I'll actually probably do that off camera because that's going to take a while. Because what I'll end up probably doing is using a box and then adding multiple faces in, extruding it out, another face, extrude it out, and extruding the faces outward so that I could then grab them and pinch them down, pinch them down, pinch them down to where it has a rounded appearance to it. So we'll save this as our build map and go into our gun. And essentially, again, I'm just going to do 128, 1, and that should be good on that. So I can actually take these and delete them off of here, and let's just create a blueprint. For now, this is not going to be completely working. So what I want to do is go to my meshes, a tank body. Now, I don't have sockets on here, which is going to be a problem. I can't attach them correctly. So add the turret to the body. And we want it to stick through just a hair. And then, with the turret selected, we want to add the gun. So the best way to do this is actually to have them correctly socketed. so that you can actually set it to pivot upon that socket. So in theory now, if I bring this blueprint in, see it's sticking into the ground, I don't want that to be a thing. So I'll go back in here and grab the body. Let's bring it up 50. See what that looks like. Let's bring it up a little bit more just because we're going to end up having tracks on there later. Alright, so we hit play. That's the thing. Now, to get this turret to work, I'll cover all this in the actual Monday live stream to show what it takes to actually get this turret to rotate. One of the things that I've done is I go into project settings and inputs, and you might want to screenshot this. So if you're going to follow along with this little series, then this is something you're going to definitely want to do. Fire primary is going to be left mouse button. Fire coaxial, which I'm not going to use just yet, is going to be right mouse button. That was on action mappings. On axis mappings, look right is going to be mouse X, which is left and right. Look up is going to be mouse Y, which is up and down, or forward and backwards. Forward is W and S. That's going to be forward and backwards. Right, which is going to be right and left, it's going to be DNA. So you have your WASD for your control of the tank body itself, but the mouse, as you look left and right, the turret's going to turn left and right. You can look up and down with your mouse. It's going to control the aim of your turret with your mouse movement. And then fire, and it'll launch a projectile out, which will then hit something, and then it'll report back what it hits, and then we can use that later on to do other cool things. But you definitely should screenshot this and set this up in your inputs. Alright, cool. So now we got all this stuff. So when we turn our turret, then it's going to turn the turret, the gun's going to go with it. If we turn our tank body, everything else is going to kind of follow, except for the fact that we're moving our turret separately. So I will create the tank tracks. I'll add them in there because I want to do it a little bit different way for setting up the tank tracks, and want to see if I can actually add some animation or animated material or something of that nature based off of the movement of the. If we're turning right, the tracks turn a certain way. If doing left, forward, backwards. We'll experiment with that a little bit at a time, but the main part that we want to do is be able to get this turret controllable so that we can move left and right with the turret and up and down and change the aim of our gun. And we're going to need a camera also. This is not our actual playable character version, but when we get ready to do that, then we'll just come in here and add a component of a spring arm, and then set the rotation on it. Actually touch that. What we'll end up doing is, I'll actually get rid of this, is setting the body as the default scene root. That way we can attach the spring arm and the camera off of that, and we'll have it set at probably about a 40-degree angle, and then have the camera looking down over top of our tank so we can see what it looks like. I'm not going to put it on here right now because we don't need it, because we haven't set this up as an actual player pawn. This was just a test right here to see what's going on with it. What I'll probably end up doing is setting up a couple of inputs. I'll set up a third-person template in here, and so I can walk around. And as I'm walking around, if I come over here and step on this plate right here, it'll make the turret turn right, or whatever. We'll experiment with it and go one step at a time on the video. But just wanted to get the basic BSP geometry set up here. With that, let's go ahead and delete EU. Now, we don't even need this blueprint at all. That blueprint was just whatever. Force delete. Save all. So that we don't have anything on there. So what we'll end up doing is next, to get this to actually be, they're static meshes. Just not going to work. Because I don't have sockets on there, and I want the sockets so that I can actually anchor them down and they're always going to be there. Okay, so what I'll end up doing here is go to my File Explorer, and I'm going to create a temporary folder, and I know you can't see what I'm doing, but we'll do test mesh. So see, I got test mesh temporary folder, and what I'm going to do here is take these three, I'm going to right click, and I am going to export. I'm exporting static meshes. And what I'm going to do is find the actual folder. You guys don't need to see all my terrible organization of my files. And save. Alright, so this comes up. FBX 2013. I'm going to change it to 2018. Not that it really matters all that much. Mesh, level of detail, collision. I'm going to leave all this. Try it like that. So export. Export, and it's giving me a save window on each one also. And export. So it's created these, and now since they're going to be skeletal meshes whenever I bring them back in, what I'll do here is copy here and hit F2, and going to get rid of copy, and we're going to change that to SK. So again, they're still static meshes, but I'm changing the names of them. Alright, so the first one we want is the body. So what I'll do here is go for this, and can do import, select the folder, and I'm going to select the SK body. Now, as I'm going through here, I'm going to make this a skeletal mesh by clicking there. I'm not going to select the skeleton because, okay, we don't need to right now. I'm sure there's some other cool things that I can do in here that I haven't done yet. So, material, import textures. No. I'm not going to invert normal maps. There is no animations, so we don't really need anything. That should be enough. Click on import. No smoothing group, could not find the bind pose. Alright, lovely. We don't need you, because I didn't want that for the material. Now if we look at our skeleton, see, we don't have an actual material applied to it right now. Go to our mesh, material, go ahead and change it to our existing, just using the basic floor texture right now. And save. Our physics bubble was created, and I got that. So we actually have the body as a skeletal mesh. Interesting lighting effect on it, but okay, we are good. So now we have a skeleton. We can actually come back in here and we'll wait until we import the gun and the turret. So let's go ahead and do the same thing, and we'll do import gun and turret. We'll select both of them now that we know that we got a system that works, and open Skeletal Mesh, clear. We don't want anything in skeleton. Material, okay, everything looks to be the same otherwise. Animation, okay, we'll do import all. We should probably do this one at a time, because I'm probably shooting myself in the foot here. Again, I don't need you. We'll do save all. Go into the gun. Change your material. Basic floor. Save. Turret. Same thing. Okay, so now we need to create some sockets here. And now that we have our skeletal meshes here, we can do the turret. The turret needs a socket for the gun, so I'm going to click here, right click, add socket, and then select it, F2, gun barrel. Okay, next I want to do is right click, add preview asset. Now I can add the gun in. Here we go. That RB good. And save. I'm actually going to do something else here on the... No, we'll do it on the gun. We need to add... Right click. Add socket. F2. Muzzle. I'm not going to rotate it, but I guarantee you... I should have probably made the barrel hollow, but whatever. So we have a spot for muzzle flash, spawning locations, blah, blah, blah. Probably end up doing it different anyway. And now, the body, we need to create a socket for the turret. Add socket. Turret. Click, add preview asset. Turret. And just bring it on up. Now, no matter where we put this turret, it's going to work. So there. Now the body holds the turret holds the gun. So if we went in here again and created a new blueprint, actor, temp, went back to our mesh folder, grabbed our skeletal mesh for the body, add component, skeletal mesh, and there we go. And now we're going to leave this selected, select our turret, add component, turret, parent socket, turret. Perfect. Leave turret selected. We want to add our gun, parent socket. It's lovely. Yes, I know I don't have the tracks yet, but I'll do the same basic principle once I create the tank treads and get those operational. But we've taken BSP geometries, converted them to static mesh after making some modifications to them, and then make some modifications to the static meshes, and then exported them, and then imported them, cheating, as a skeletal mesh. So now if I go back in here, blueprint, temp, again, see how it's sticking into the ground. Come back over here, we'll grab the body, raise it up 80, and hit play. Cool. But since this is not a actual playable character or anything else, it's not operating with physics and that kind of stuff here. Physics, we'll select that. It's technically there. Yeah, there is no physics to it. There is, but there isn't. I hope that makes sense. But that gets that into the scene. Yay, and there was much rejoicing. It's not a character. It has no character movement, no wheeled movement, no other kind of movement. It's just to see that everything is there. And if we want to have the turret rotate, we'll now have control over it, and we'll be able to rotate it. You see the gun goes with it. And then if we want to, we can rotate the gun. So whatever we do in the blueprint, we'll translate over. And there was much rejoicing. But like I said, that was just to get us to this point. So I still have to make the tracks. And this is not the best way to create the models and so forth. The best way would be to actually create it in the 3D program. Or if you're using existing tank models and you want them to actually work, then you're going to end up having to separate the turret from the body and the gun from the turret. And the tank treads from the body and so forth. You'll have to separate them, or else they're just not going to work. If there is a way, I haven't figured it out yet. If I do figure it out, I will show a way of doing it that way. Because you know, like City Studios has their tanks in 2 different asset packs, and ships and so forth. And it would be nice if they actually worked, and you could use the turrets and so forth. But you can't. So until I figure out a way of doing it with those, otherwise you're going to have to end up taking those same models from the asset pack, going into, and the one good thing, if you purchase the City Studios models or the assets from the marketplace, you won't be able to do this as easy. But if you do purchase it from their store, and you go to, since I got everything from their store, just about, not everything, but you'll have the source files right there. And you can actually open up the source files Yes, yes. We've got the FBX files, OBJ files, textures, all the stuff right there. So you can actually go to the original FBX files and go from there. And I forgot about this myself. And go vehicles, American truck, half track, car, which is the Jeep. I love Jeeps. Where is, okay, like German tank, 1, 2, and 3. You can go into the FBX files and be able to actually separate the parts so that you can actually use it that way. So if you do have 3D modeling software you can use, then that's what I would do, is actually go into the source files and remove the turret from the tank body and make it its own FBX. Remove the gun and the gun turret, just like you see on mine. I've created the actual body, the turret, and keeping in mind the gun itself needs to be attached to a mantlet of some sort. So if the ones from City Studios has a mantlet, you want to leave that connected to the barrel of the gun so that they move together. That's how it's going to work. If you're going to do it, pay attention a little bit. Proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance, so go about it that way. Probably should have left these in here. So I can do that. 0, 0, and 0. And yeah, we'll set that at 80. And that's where I need it to be for setting up my tank tracks. So I'll make the tank tracks. I'll figure out what I'm doing with that, and I'll create them, and I'll export them and re-import them so that I've got skeletal meshes for them, and we'll go from there. I'll probably just do a non-functional version of the tracks for right now, and later work on a cooler version. I don't know. I'll do it either way. You know, I could actually just go in here and create road wheels. If you look at pictures of actual tanks, you've got, on most tanks, the engine is in the rear. Not all of them, but most tanks, the engine's in the rear. So you'll have the engine and transmission back here, and you will have, not always is the transmission here. Some tanks, the transmission is up front, and you use a drive shaft to go between. So, you know, whatever, we'll say that our drive wheel is back here, which is typically a sprocketed wheel here, and it is not touching the ground. You will have other wheels that are down here that will be touching the track on the bottom part, but not on the top part. And so this rear wheel here and this front wheel here, they won't be all the way at the ground. They'll be slightly elevated. So let's actually, just to give you an idea, material, select it. You know what? I'll do a different material just for the hell of it. We'll do rusty. Grab that. 24 sides. Z height, let's make it 50. And outer radius, let's go with 50. Close enough for government work. Gotta center it up in here. Actually gonna make that. Yeah, that's fine. So this is gonna be too big in diameter. So your rear wheel is not gonna be big enough to go from here all the way up to here. That's just not the way it works. So we'll go to our outer radius. Let's go with 30. This will be my drive wheel, and it's not going to be magically floating back here. So we want it to be farther forward, so it looks like the components are going to go into there. We'll leave it here, road wheel will actually have a connection going into the body of the tank. But you would have this here, and you'd have another one up here. And sometimes, yes, the I don't want to change the elevation. Be about the same. These aren't going to be floating. There would actually be a mechanism there. So you really can't get it, the center of it, past the body of the vehicle. You think just a little bit of how the mechanicals actually work. Should have thought about that when I made my fenders. Should be farther back this way. But oh well. So yeah, the front idler and the rear dry sprockets will not be touching the ground. The other ones, let it go all the way into the ground, bring it back up just a hair. And these are what's called road wheels. Okay, when I was in the Army, one of my MOS, or job titles, essentially, I forget what MOS stands for, military occupational specialty, or whatever the hell it is, was actually 11 Hotel, which was tank buster. We learned how to kill tanks. Now I'll grab all of them. Control C, Control V. I'm not going to join them together though, so I should not do this. Control Z. Don't want to do that. I'll wait until I get the actual tank tread itself built, or actually combine these into a single unit, and then we'll copy it, and then I'll have a left and a right. But I don't really need to make them different. Yeah, I'll leave it like this. Even though it's not going to look right whenever I'm screwing around here, the next part would actually be creating the tank tread itself. And probably the easy way to do that would be a bunch of separate components. I'll create a cylinder that was the same size as this one, and I'll make it a little bit larger, and I'll change it to hollow. So actually, Control C, Control V, we'll do this. So we know that that is like so. Let's change it to burnished steel. So we have a contrasting color, so we can tell that it's something different. Yeah, I need to put these in a separate folder for right now. Create new folder, wheels. And I will come back to them. So, with this one, we want, since we know our outer radius is 30, let's make it 40. Let's try 35. Make it hollow. Inner radius 30. And we want it to be wider, so our Z height will be 80. Nah, too wide. 70. Now, what's gonna suck about this is I need to cut it off. So I only need to about right here, the top. Yeah, see, it'd be so much easier for me to actually just, well, first off, make it actually wrap around correctly. To actually chop it off, and then add a box that will go from here to there. So we can actually take this from right here and probably go ahead and just chop it in half. If we know that we want here, cut it off, and cut it off in there. So probably end up, like I said, this is going to be confusing. So I'll probably end up breaking this up and just doing this on my own without, totally murdering freaking everything here. And Control C, Control V. Change this to subtractive. Nah. I'll make sure that I have the same material selected. Drag in here. And 70 wide. So X will be 70. And the Z will be 70. And why not? And we'll do subtractive. And I'll probably end up chopping this into its own. Damn. Well, we can do this. So what we'll do is probably take this one and create it as its own static mesh, and then I can copy it, paste it, flip it around, and then create the other pieces, parts, and just kind of mix them together. So on here, I will create a new folder, temp, and now we'll take these two, create static mesh, temp, and temp, track, rear, so that now we can actually do the same thing whenever it's on the thing. We'll make a box collision that'll go from here to here. So we'll do this, Control C, Control V, rotate it around. No, you were such an idiot. 180. So I'll do a flat piece to go from here to here, and then a flat piece to go from here to here, and then a flat piece from here to here, and then from here to here. So 1, 2, 3, 4 more pieces to connect this all together. Now these are in their correct locations. Then I can start doing the other piece of parts. Yep, that looks good. So now when I go back, material, I'm not worried about changing the properties on it because, yeah. What material did we use on there? Burnished. So we'll do that. And we want our Z height. We know we wanted it 70 in the X. The Z height, we need 5. Yep. See, it's going to be a pain in the ass to get all this done. But what I will do first off is Control C, Control V, and shove you over here so that I've got one the same dimensions in 2 axes for the bottom piece. And the bottom 3 pieces, that is. Instead of stretching this out, I'm going to go through the trouble of changing the dimensions and the brush settings. So it seems annoying to do it this way when you can just grab that thing right there and scale it, but it won't be correct. Okay. First off, 0. So we're just a little bit short here and there. And we're going to change our snapping to 1. So, 720. And you are correct here, but not here. So let's grab you and you. Yeah, okay. We'll make it work. So that's that. And change you back to 0. Alright, so let's try you at 700. It's too far. I would want this to stop about right there, so 560. No, that was close. It's actually pretty good. So just need 2 more sections, one from here to here and one from there to there. And again, I can move this wheel to make it work better for everything. Control C, Control V. And let's change this to 120. That's close. I'm going to go ahead and rotate it. And I'll probably have to uncheck snapping on rotation. Just try to match it up as best as possible. Let's try it at 92, 94. That's going to be close enough. Control C, Control V. Going to recheck snapping. Eh. It is so close. Do the same thing on that one. 96. Uncheck. It's so close. Yeah, no, I'm just being OCD. The hell? Why did it select the damn sky sphere, you dumb piece of shit? Alright, I'm good with that. So now we've got that, which is our tracks, that we have to combine with these two. So what I'm going to have to do is create this as a static mesh. So we got that part. So grab these three, or four. Create static mesh, temp, tracks, whatever. Create static mesh. Now I can take this, this, and this, right click, and create static mesh. And we'll do SM underscore track. And okie dokie. And now I no longer need you. Now let's see, 1, 2. Okay, now these guys. Just want to place them up just higher. Close enough. And yes, there would be some little supports up here that would hold the tracks, but I'm not going to get too carried away. I've gotten carried away more than enough. So now I can grab these, create static mesh, temp, road wheels, you know what, I can actually leave it at this. Select the right folder, dumbass. We will do SM underscore TT underscore road wheels. Alright, so body, road wheels. I don't need you guys in here. Don't need you guys. Go to my mesh folder. It's the road wheels and tracks. And of course, let's get you out of here for now. And turn all my snapping back on. 0, 0, 0. Tracks. 0, 0, and 0. And of course they're not going to be together. They're fine that way, but that. Uncheck my snapping. Alright, so unfortunately both of them are going to have shit pivot points, but I don't care. Select both of those, and for now, convert it to static mesh, and I'm going to make this a usable pair. Mesh SM underscore TT underscore track set. So now we have the multiple materials. Unfortunately, we got those are all combined together. We'll do same crap over here. 1, 2, 8. I'm not worried about the collisions right now. Again, this is testing stuff. Not even going to worry about collisions on this guy. And track. All right, good to go. We'll grab them, dump them. Now, what I want to do is want to add that into our tank, but it is not a skeletal mesh. So I'll do the same thing I did before, and we're going to wrap up this video. So we're just, and on the video, I will actually show this short, quick, and to the point, creating a BSP geometry to a static mesh to a skeletal mesh. The cheap, cheesy way. Export, same folder, save, 2018, and good enough. Go back to our folder. Test mesh. Track set. I'm going to actually just right click, drag it, drop it, copy it here, hit F2, get rid of copy, and call you that. Import track set, skeletal mesh. Got to clear that. If you do not clear that, it will attach it to the original body, the skeleton that was right there, and it will screw shit up. Trust me, I'm good at screwing shit up. So now, go away. Compiling shaders. Open up that. Close that. You and you go to hell. I don't want your materials. I already have them. So now we can apply those materials. One of them was rusty. I don't remember which was which here. So, rust. That's lovely. And then burnished steel for the road wheels. Sounds lovely. That looks terrible. Don't care. Skeleton. Apply to asset. Save, blah, blah, blah. Save all. Now, if we go back to our body, we need to add the tracks to it. We need the skeleton. So let's do body, right click, add socket, select it. We're going to do right track. Add preview asset. Track set. Doing it this way. Now, fortunately, there's no, like, here it is, coordinates, and then I can just copy it and paste it. So, you know, and then just do from negative to positive and that kind of crap. So, yeah. Right click, add socket. Select that again, and this left tracks. And again, let's see. Add preview asset, track set. And what I'm gonna do is drag it over onto this one so that I can get it perfect. Well, I don't have to worry about that way. I want to get the elevation correct. Match it up this way, height-wise, and front to back-wise. Then I can go back over here and just change the left to right. Just want to kind of center it up in here. Try to match up the gap, you know. That's something you can always fix later, but there we go. Save, close. Now if we did the same thing we did earlier, just create a temporary so we can get a look at it. Let's right click, blueprint, actor, doesn't matter what we call it because I'm going to delete that anyway. Shut up, I said open, thank you. And we'll go in here, mesh, body. Alright, with the body selected, add component. Let's add in the first track. Actually, no, let's add the turret in. No, I want to think about how I see it. Add component, track. We'll do right track and socket, right track. Select the body, add components, track set, and we'll do left track, parent socket, left track. Select the body, turret, add component, turret, add component. Ooh, not static mesh. And our gun. It needs to go to our turret. Turret needs to go to our turret. Gun needs to be... why are you... You need to be connected to the turret. What the hell is your problem, dumbass? Okay, let's try this again. Select the body. Select the turret, idiot. Add component, turret. Select the gun. Oh, turret needs to be turret. Turret, add component. Gun, I should call it main gun. It needs to go to gun barrel. Hey. Blueprint. Take the body. This is exactly why I don't like putting the body of something in here as the root. Now I'm never going to be able to select this correctly. But let's just go ahead and hit play. But nonetheless, we have probably the world's ugliest tank. I spent less time on the freaking body of this tank, and it looks like the best part. But anyhow, if we look at that, we can grab our turret, and if we rotate our turret, and we're going to rotate our gun, we can make changes. Whatever we do here translates. Alright. The short abbreviated version of this video I will do for Monday, and which will be tomorrow, and we'll be just quickly knock it out. This is how you take in a blank project material, selected material, burnished steel, whatever. Let's grab a box. Poof. No problem. Won't do a whole lot of coverage on making changes, but taking this, showing how to manipulate each of these individual things here, how to extrude. Isn't that pretty? But yeah, taking something like this and then carrying it from your own homemade BSP Geometry to convert it to a static mesh, to convert it into a skeletal mesh, and be able to use it as a character item. So, we're going to call it quits on this video. Again, for those who didn't watch the video prior to this one, thank you everybody for helping me get to 1,000 subscribers. And let's keep on going, because I need to make all the internet monies, and I'm not making any of it. So, thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.